Thanks, Lisa. That's my wonderful, one of my wonderful team members is Lisa. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Self-Care for Busy Women, my March webinar and hoping that this will be a time for you to replenish your mind, body, and spirit and get some tips in how to build self-care into your daily life and how to prioritize and care for yourself without feeling guilty. So what I wanted to do first was reading, I constantly read, but it was a new one out of the New York Times that self-care is going to still be probably the #1 thing to pay attention to in 2021. So this is coming down from all the experts of what's critical in our society. And so here's some signs if you need self-care. If your heart hurts, there's pain that you've suffered, whether you've lost people in COVID or you've had a relationship that broke down or you've got past hurts in your life. If your heart's hurting, you need self-care. Do you feel a dead inside? You're exhausted and you're just like, oh my gosh, like one more thing. You're counting the days if you're working and it's not a job you would prefer and you're going, okay, it's Thursday. I've just got one more day, just one more day. And then I get the weekend to myself. Or maybe you're lying awake at night worrying about whether you can pay your bills and your rent and how can you manage all this? Some of us, a lot of it's just there's little or no connection with others. And then also, if you feel as if you're about to explode and can't handle one more thing, those are all signs. And there's many more, but these are just kind of the ones that came to my mind of what could be going on in your mind that helps you identify and go, oh yeah, I really want to pay attention to this. So those are some of the signs of self-care. What I'm going to be talking to you about today is there's languages. I love, what I say I do is I work with the art and science of transformation. And so the art is, there's 2 different parts, and I'm going to be sharing parts of each of them from you. But the language of success, I'm going to share this story as an example of what languages look like in our lives. So there's a mother mouse, she's taking her kids out on an excursion for the day, and they're coming home at the end, and she's walking along the side of the building, being very cautious, and her 3 babies are behind her. And all of a sudden she rounds a corner of the house and there's Tom, and he's this big cat, and he's looking at her and she's looking at him, and she's thinking, oh crap. And he's thinking lunch. And so, he's taken, he's got some drool starting to form, and he takes a step towards her. And then he takes another step, and all of a sudden she rises up on her back paws and goes, ruff, ruff. She scared Tom so much that he turned around and ran away. And she turned around and looked at her babies and says, see, kids, you can never downplay the importance of having a second language. So I share that. It's a kind of a goofy story, but it shows that there's languages that we don't know that we use every day. And so the language of transformation is broken into the art and the science of that. So that's what we're going to be delving in today. Today is the language of self-care and transformation. So what my intention is for our time we have together today is I'm going to give you 3 tools to help you achieve your goals. We're going to look at what your goals are, and we're going to work to gain greater clarity on what your goals and your dreams are. And finally, to even feel more confident in your ability to achieve your goals. So that's my intention for our time together this morning. I did it again. There we go. And I'd like you all to type in the chat if you would, if you have some area of your life that you'd like to improve. And I've given you some choices here, but if it's one, if it's put 3, put whatever, your health, you'd like to improve your health, your relationships, your weight, your fitness, your anxiety, your finances, chronic pain. That's one I deal with, day in and every day. Whether you've got disease you're dealing with, whether it's your well-being, is it exhaustion? Is it your job? Is it stress? So write in the chat, drop in the chat if you would, what is your top maybe 1 or 2 or 3, what stress, thank you, calmness, health, fitness, weight, yeah, diabetic type 2, ooh, yeah, you're in the right place, Diane. anxiety, health, weight, and relationship. Yeah. Yeah, we can all relate to all of them, right? And I think this year has heightened a lot for us, which is where this is so timely, is that learning how to deal with these things and be able to, move on and release them and move on with what we would like and what we would love in our life. So good job. So, and then again, how many of you have ever achieved a goal in or a dream in your life? So that might be, for some, it might be finishing high school. Some, it might be college. Some, it might be getting married, having babies, starting a company. What have you ever achieved? Just put a yes or a no in the chat if you've ever. Yes. Awesome, Brenda. Annette, yes. It feels so good, right? And this is, Diane laid off. Yeah. So, returned into retirement. Awesome. Maybe not as timely as you would have liked, but that's a good, awesome. Lots of yeses. Okay. So we've got lots. So what we want, part of working with transformation and working with me is we set a state in our lives. And whenever I start working with people, we start with what we're grateful for and proud of. And so you're proud. You've got your energy this morning probably went up when you look at what you've already achieved in your life. And you continue to achieve things as we grow and learn. And this is to show you that you're capable of far more than you ever knew. Lots of times we go, well, that's just the way I just did it. I just didn't think anything of it. But it's a big accomplishment. You accomplished something and you've attained a goal. Congratulations. And so here's some things. What I've learned is the quality of our life is determined by the quality of our questions that we ask. So a couple of examples of this is worrying about COVID, versus taking proactive steps to increase our immunity. And yes, there's a way to increase our immunity. So you're either in the worrying about it. I'm going to worry. I'm not going to go out of the house because I'm fear I'm going to get COVID, versus what can I do to increase my immunity? And, hours listening to the daily news versus listening to some health podcasts or reading inspiring books. We all know, and you're going to see a couple of them today, of clips out of that I've pulled off of YouTube that are very inspiring, and they inspire us to achieve more and do more. And so, if you're watching the nightly news and versus if you're watching something that inspires you to do better and be better, that's going to affect our lives dramatically. And also what I know is that our goals and our dreams are often born out of the challenges that we face. So Diane said you got laid off for early retirement. So oftentimes our goals and our dreams will come out of those challenges. Like, it wasn't expected, it's not a great thing, and I'm sorry it happened. But when we start to learn how to spin that, I had a dramatic an injury in 2010, and I meddled from the waist down. And I spent years trying to process that. And when I finally could process it, I wouldn't change who I am today. I wouldn't give up what I went through to not have who I am today. So we look at the challenges we're facing, and where the universe is waiting with new goals and dreams for us to grab onto, to take us forward. So, in 2020, we all faced, loss of loved ones, loss of freedom, loss of connection with friends, our current self-care, like pedicures and manicures and haircuts, going out for a glass of wine. I mean, I live on the coast of California, and there's fire pits, and we go and have a snack and a glass of wine with friends and listen to the waves crash. That it's been a year. It's a year this weekend, actually, that I know that California for sure went into COVID. So it's been a year. Have you grown in this year? Or are you kind of feeling stuck with the weight of what has happened in your life this year? So that's, there's dreams and goals that are going to come out of that for you if we learn how to work with that. And there's two signals for growth. One is our longing, and the other is our discontent. And these are different than longing is not complaining. Neither is discontent complaining. What it is you might have a great life. Everything's going really well in your life. But there's this part of you that when you stop at the end of the night and you're just going to sleep, you think, oh yeah, I wonder, I wonder what happened if I'd done that, or, yeah, that's just, it's just something I really would love to do. And that's our longing. And that's part of what's instilled in us when we are created from very life force. And our discontent, again, it doesn't mean you're not thankful for everything you have in your life. It just means you want more. And we are designed as human beings to want, we're the only being on the planet that's designed to want more. I mean, my dogs want more food, but we want more in our lives. We want to learn more. We want to grow more. We want to do more. We want to be more. So that's the discontent. And we are the only beings that have that longing and discontent and that ability to strive for more in our lives. So here's what happens. When the longing and the discontent, I've got this great little, I love toys. I'm a child. I love to play. We've got our longing or we've got our discontent. And this is a little energy stick, because this is part of the science of dream building, science of transformation. And so when I've got my longing, my discontent, and I put my energy into exploring what that looks like, we get a circuit. So that's part of the science of transformation. We can have our longings, but until we put energy behind it and start figuring out, or not figuring out, but how we learn how to bring that about, those longings and discontents will stay in our lives. So there's the two essential energies in our lives. There's the pain of your problem and a burning desire for what you want. And those are essential for creating new results. Let me say that again, the pain of your problem. As much as we try to get away from pain in our lives, it's that very pain that will cause us to grow if we let it. If we let it. And the burning desire for what you want. What is that inside of you that's going, oh, yes, yes, let's do this. So those are essential for creating new results. So here's a little bit of my story. That's me on the left. That's just right after my fourth major surgery. They were actually fusing my sacroiliac joints at that point. I had my back fused, both hips replaced, and both sacroiliac joints fused. I was told I would never walk unassisted again, that it just, the damage that had been done and all that had happened to my body that, I asked my doctor once, I said, do you think I'm ever going to walk through Costco again? And he was the greatest man of inspiring me. He was one that's inspired change in me. And he said, probably not. I now am a transcendence facilitator. I walk through Costco most times I go. And so that is the longing and the discontent. That's the pain of what can I do more and how much better can I be? So it's possible for me. If I can do it, there's nothing that can't be done. And that's, again, the art and the science of transformation. That's what I do with people. And my promise to you today in our time together is I'm going to give you everything I can. I've got years and years. I mean, I studied transformation. I studied, the science, the law of attraction, all that stuff for like 25 years. And then I came upon the program I now work with, which is the art and science of transformation. And it actually takes everything and puts it into an easy step-by-step process of transformation. So my promise is to give you as much as I can today. And I've got gifts at the end. Anyone who registered will get, I think everybody that's registered is getting my new ebook out on gratitude. Everybody that stays till the end, I believe, is getting, or anyone that decides they want to go ahead with me is getting my new course called The Power of Purpose, which is just a kind of a get going on it. So promises at the end and gifts for you at the end. And it's a time for me to pour into you and to try and bless you in any way I can. And just that you feel loved and cared for, and that there's so much more for you in your life. So, so here's an example. I'm going to transition into bit more of the science. So this is called the numbers game. And where's my timer? There it is. I'm going to give you 1 minute. And so what the goal of this is to start here and find number 1 on the page and note it. Go and find number 2, go and find number 3, go and find number 4, you know, wherever they are, and then go as far as you can numerically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so I'm going to give you a minute and see how far you get. Okay, so you ready? Go. Okay, that's 1 minute. Everybody stop, okay? So please drop in the chat how the highest number you found doing this for 1 minute, okay? What was your highest number you got that you found? 26, good. 18, awesome. 15, 20. Good job. 18, Karen, thank you. Anybody else? 26, yay. So let me give you a little secret here. When we learn the system of how life and how this world works, we get exponential results. So let me show you here. So when I do these in my in-person workshops, they've actually got paper and we do this on, circle it on paper. So the page is divided into 4 quadrants. And if you look, you'll find number 1 is in the top right. Number 2 is in the bottom right. Number 3 is in the bottom left. And number 4 is in the top left. 5's top right, 6, 7, 8. So there's a pattern to this. There's a pattern to life. There's a pattern to how everything works on our planet. And when we learn what the patterns are, we get to use them and get exponential results in our lives. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give everybody another minute. So now that you know the pattern, let's see how much further you get when you've got the tools to transform your results. Okay, so go.
Yes.
Okay, there's another minute. So again, please drop in the chat how much further you got this time. 44, yay. 36. 33. 30. 50, wow. You've done this before? That's amazing, awesome. But we all got, the point of this is we all do better when we understand the patterns of how things work. So it's just, we're not aware. So we're not aware of how to do it. So we do the best we can. And there's just little things that when we implement them and try new things, that will give us exponential results. So this is an example of what that looks like. Also, another major issue, another major tool in transformation, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is that our thoughts, everything starts in our thoughts. So our thoughts actually create our feelings. Sorry, I'm trying to get all my stuff going here, which create our actions, which create our results. So here's another pattern that most of us are not aware of, or a lot of us aren't aware of. I shouldn't assume it's most. That when you're looking at a result in your life, whether you love it or you would prefer it to be different, how many of you realize that traces back to thoughts? Because your results, if you look at what your actions were that resulted in that and go back. So this is a really helpful tool I find in when I'm looking at my life and I'm assessing things, and I go back and think, what was I thinking? If you ever got one of those things and you go, what was I thinking? You're just like, oh. And it's like, because our actions, we didn't realize what we were thinking. So we just are in rote, or we're just, continuing on with things the way they are, not realizing that when we get a thought, if I wake up in the morning and my dog's very food driven, and my oldest one will keep pushing back. So it's kind of like, I've got him trained now, typically 7 o'clock in the morning. And every once, it's now kind of, he pushes it. He'll wake me up at 6:30 or 6:15, seeing if I'll get up and feed him. So what I'll do is I'll get up and put him out, and I'll go back to bed until it's time to feed him. But if I wake up and I go, oh crap, I got to get up again, I'm going to get up and I'm going to start my day with, darn dog, rah, 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 rah. And so that I carry through that. I've got a less than positive attitude through the day, that my results are, I probably have a day there's an overabundance of grouchiness. Whereas when I wake up and I go, you little monkey, but you're just trying it. So then I just get up and I let him out, and it's like, I don't make anything of it. I just go back to bed and I make him wait, because it's like, I don't want him to give, because then it wouldn't be very long and I'd be up at 5 o'clock. The truth of the matter is. So it's the way we frame it. So I make it a joke now, and I make it a game. And so that's another one of the patterns of transformation, how we change our lives. And here on the left that I just put up is again, the science. Everything on our planet is energy. And so until we learn what that is and how to use it, we kind of get bumped around by the waves. And if you've got if you look on the left, shame is the lowest energy that there is. So if you've got a lot of shame in your life, what ends up happening is that we attract the energy that we are working at. And that's where all these things, we can track back to our thoughts. When we change our thoughts, it changes our feelings, our actions, and our results. And so this is where the science comes in, because we can go in and interrupt the pattern and start a new pattern. And so when you've got a lot of shame or guilt or apathy or grief or fear, those are all really low energy. And what happens is we attract more of that to our lives. And pretty soon we're watching the news all night, and we're going, see, it's just going to get worse. And we're never going to get this controlled. And we've got all those things. And then we get up to a desire where we're starting to realize, hey, there might be more for me than, again, that longing and discontent. What would I love? And again, the pride, what am I proud of myself for? Look at how much more energy you've got when you've got pride is 175 versus guilt at 30. So this is how we raise our energy and what we attract to ourselves in this world. And when you start getting up to where you're actually in love, that's one of the higher frequencies in life. When we're in love, that's where we get that euphoric sense, it's our energy is higher. Peace, enlightenment, all those things, as we learn how to practice that, and we can actually inject it into our lives, that will cause an increase. So that's the science, is we get to do that. We get to play. I remember I don't remember how young I was when I remember hearing that humans use 10% of their brain. And it was one of those things that just, it was just my head bounced off every wall I could find, because I was just like, 10%? And I remember the first thing my brain thought was, well, what would happen if I went to 15? That's all I was thinking. I wasn't going for some grand amount of 25. I was just going for, what happens if I'm this smart? What happens if I increase that by 5%? Science of transformation. This is it. This is the energy of what we're working with here. And then in our lives, so I'm going to take you into the beginning of how we start applying this to our lives. We've got 4 quadrants typically in our lives. The health and well-being, which is mostly what we're looking at today with the self-care, is part of the health and well-being quadrant of our lives. Relationships, vocation, time and money, freedom. And so, for after 2015, well, actually longer than that, those 4 years of going through my surgeries, my full-time vocation was getting healthy. So we've got the 4 areas in our lives, but depending on what our current circumstances are, we may end up putting more energy in one. Like it's like when you're on an airplane, they say the pressure in the cabin drops, the oxygen mask, put yours on first. If you have an area of your life that's on life support, put the mask on that one first, and then we build from there. So, if everything's kind of even, great. We can look at all 4 of them. And there's times, so mine now is, I still have a heavy bend in mine on health and well-being. And so, but I also, 2 years ago when I started this work, I wasn't open to having a relationship. I've said to my coach at the time, my picker's broken. I dated the same kind of man for 40 years. I've dated doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs. I've dated artists. I've dated every different thing, but they're all the same. Because I didn't know how to change my results. Vocation. Do you hate what you're doing? Do you know that there's something you would love to do and it's possible to have that? And time and money, freedom. Many of us this year, many people have been highly impacted. Our service industries in particular have been impacted by this year. Yes, there's a dream for everybody of how to improve that area of our lives. So that's the 4 quadrants that I work with when I work with clients. And then the number one question you'll hear me ask is, what would you love? And tying back into self-care, for those of us who haven't taken a lot of energy and self-care in our lives, or even in the last year, that's what would I love is that voice inside of you, that spark that created you when you started to be created in your mother's womb. That's what would I love. There's a purpose that only you can fulfill on this planet in your time here. And that's what I would love. And that's what we're getting in tune in. That's where the self-care, as we take care of the vessel and the person that we are, and give voice to who we are meant to be, and learn to listen to that voice of what we would love gets a chance to expand. And that's the art of transformation, is learning how to expand what we would love in our lives and how to listen to that. So, it's where our attention goes, and this is where we're tuning our attention. What would you love? What are you watching? Are you watching the 5 o'clock news? What are you doing with your life? So the program I work with clients, there's 10 principles. And what I'm going to take you through today is the first 3. I'm just going to touch on the first 3. And again, with self-care, what we're learning to do is design our dream. No matter where you are in your life, there's a part of you that can dream. Again, there's the 4 quadrants. What we're going to look at today is we're going to take one. And I've heavily done this one towards more the health and wellness. If you have another one, by all means, take all that I'm teaching here and apply it to that one and ask questions. Because that's what I want to do, is I want to give you a taste of what it looks like to start designing a life you would love. So what would you really love? And this can take time. This is not a rushed process. Today, I'm just going to give you the tools, whether you can go forward with all of them or not. You know, that's what I'm here to do. And when we're trying to decide on this, what we want to do is we want to gain clarity on what it is we would love. So clarity is power. Well, I'd kind of like that. There's no power in that. You know, I wanted to learn, I wanted to be able to dance again. There's power in it. I want to dance. So here's some self-care did you knows. So self-care isn't a priority because 44% believe it's only for people with enough time. And about 35% of people believe self-care is only possible for those people with enough money. And incorporating healthy self-care practices into your daily life can have lasting benefits. Remember the energy, grief, loss, all those ones there. Self-care practices, if we get up to, you know, pride, we're proud of where we're going. We're proud of the growth we've had. We're proud of how well we're handling this situation. So these practices don't have to be time consuming or expensive to be effective. You know, some research I was doing this week was just going out and standing in the forest, go standing with some trees. There's an actual scientific change in our bodies when we stand in nature. Simple, simple, simple. Go sit in your backyard, listen to the birds sing for 5 minutes. We'll start 5 minutes. I'm working with a book called Atomic Practices. I forgot
Habits.
the name.
Atomic Habits.
What's that?
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. Thanks, Lisa. And I started a planking challenge last month. And I started at 5 seconds because that's how long I could hold a plank, was 5 seconds. You know what? After a week, I was at a minute. It doesn't have to be time consuming. Start with a little bit and go from there. So those are some self-care did you knows. So let's look at our lives. We've got I've got amazing, wonderful people I work with. I'm so blessed. And so they broke the four quadrants into a nice, pretty chart, which shows you with your love and relationships, what would you love with your friends and family, co-workers, significant others, your overall mental, physical, spiritual health, you know, time and money, freedom, how would you rate it? These are all for rating. We're going to do the rating first, and vocation. So there's a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means you're miserable in this part of your life. 2 is you're not very happy, but you're starting to make some movement. 3 is it needs some improvement. 4 is overall, they're pretty good. And 5 is you're feeling really good about your life. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, and I just want you to rate each one of these areas and kind of write down your longing and discontent in each one of those areas, and start thinking into how would you like that to change. So does everybody have when I do these in person, I give everybody notebooks and pens. I hope everybody brought a notebook and pen, and if you didn't, go and grab one quickly, and you know, just write down, or if you just want to work on the one, like I said, the health and well-being, then just work on that one. So 1 to 5, but all 4 areas to do the rating of 1 to 5, just so you've got that for yourself. When I started this, the only reason I had 1s was because I didn't have 0s. In all 4 quadrants, I had incredible discontent and longing in my life. I was very unhappy with the way I couldn't walk. I was 254 pounds, and I was told I would never walk through Costco. You know, and I hadn't worked for 8 years because I've been through surgeries. It's like, what hope is there in that? So that's what I'm telling you, is no matter what your circumstances are, you can change them. So there you go. Here's 2 minutes to go ahead and write down what you would love and how you would like to change it. About 30 seconds left. Okay, last few seconds. Awesome. Okay. I just want to stop my share and get everybody on full screen. Any revelations in there? How did that feel to just sit down and look at your life and do a little bit deeper dive into what that feels like? Anybody have anything they'd like to share? Any questions on what we've covered so far? No? I love seeing faces. It's like, yay. So used to talking to myself, but now I'm going to figure out there's my screen share again. So was that a pretty good, everybody thumbs up? Was it helpful? Was it good? Awesome. You should have actually in your reactions of your bottom screen, you can put a thumbs up in there if you're enjoying that, or if you have a question you want to raise your hand, just put it in there. Hi, a couple of people popped on. Great to see you. Good morning. So yeah, there's a thing at the bottom to raise your hand. Sorry, I should have done Zoom etiquette when I started. Okay, so I'll go back to our, where we were. I just like to see everybody once in a while. Oops, there we go. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do time machine. And for anyone who's seen Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future, they know there was a time machine. And you got into this car and you went to different places. And it was kind of I don't know if it did anything for you, but it's kind of sparked my interest of, oh, I wonder what the future would be like. When they went to the past, I've never been fascinated with the past because quite frankly, I love my washer, I love my microwave, I love my stove, I love, I got no thing about going back to the past. Anyway, so I want to go forward in the future and see what, the George Jetsons and all those things that, have got for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to do time machine with our lives. And we're going to actually take what we looked at with our lives, and we're now going to go 3 years out. So we're going to go to 2024, and it's going to be March 13th, 2024. And this is part of the art and the science. We're going to visualize it's March 13th, 2024, and everything has worked out in your life. So we're going to look at all the areas of longing and discontent, and we're going to say, what would I love? So what would your ideal job be? What would your ideal relationship be? Where are you living? Have you bought your dream house? So we're going out 3 years. And the reason we go out 3 years is because our minds, our subconscious mind, our paradigms is really nasty. And if we start dreaming that what we want to have done by next year, it's going to come up and go, well, you didn't do it last year. So what makes you think you can do it this year? You always start exercise programs and you never finish them. So that's our mind, and that's our paradigms that are going to pop up because they're trying to save their lives and keep you stuck where you are. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to take you outside of what your brain can imagine to what you would love. And that's where we start tying into what's in here. Because when I talk later and I give you some examples of affirmations and things like that, that all comes out of what we're doing with our dream of our life right here. So again, I'm going to give you some time to write down what your life looks like in March of 2024. We're going to pretend that you're back on a Zoom meeting with me, and we haven't seen each other in 3 years, and you're going to I'm so happy and grateful now that, and address either, address the main area that you've addressed first, and then look at other areas of your life of what you'd be. So if you were looking at health and well-being, if you've got a health challenge, is 2024. I'm so healthy and vibrant. I live at my goal weight and I move with ease and grace. I wear my favorite designer jeans, size 10. It's you want to make it so that it's you're living that it's an actual, you're actually doing, this is the physics of transformation. Because when you become a vibrational match for what you would love, it has to be yours. That's physics. That's not woo-woo, that's physics. Einstein said it. So what we want to do is we want to get a really vivid picture of what our life looks like in 3 years. So one of my affirmations is I wake up in the arms of my beloved husband every morning. And I talk about his traits and how we grow more and more in love every day. I don't have to know the details, but I do know that I have a loving relationship that we grow more and more in love every day. And I wake up every day feeling loved and adored. So we're trying to make this so that we're living it. So that's what we're doing in this, we're going to rewrite now what we did, but we're going out 3 years and everything has come true that you have on your wish list, on your dream list. So does everybody kind of understand? Any questions on that? No hands raised? I want to make it clear so that nobody's confused or, it's a concept to get their heads. And when I'm doing in-person workshops, I'm typically doing 3 hours. So there's a bit more time to round this out. And I've done a number of webinars, but I kind of, with my groups, what I'm working with is finding that this is the crux of where we will stop and spend some extra time. So in your job, what are you doing? If you would like to be a nurse, I'm doing my dream job. I've graduated nursing school and I got my first job and, all that kind of stuff. You want to make it so that you're living this. And, time and money freedom. That retirement that happened in 2021 was the best thing that ever happened to me. I learned how to travel and make money while I was traveling. Again, when I mentioned earlier about the questions that we ask, you can ask, how can I get to the end of months and pay my bills? Or you can ask, how can I travel to the south of France and make $5,000 doing it? Because our brain will work on whichever one we give it. So this is the science of transformation. What would you love? So no questions. I'm going to give you, I think it's 3 minutes again to write down. It's 2024. Hi, I'm so grateful and proud. It's good to see you. I'm so grateful and proud of my life and what I've achieved. And write it down like you've achieved all your dreams. Okay? So let's go ahead. I'm going to give you, I think it's 3 minutes again. And if anybody has any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm here to answer them. I'm here to help. Okay, go. How's everybody doing? Anybody need more time? Anybody need more time? No, don't see any hands raised. Okay, great. So how did that feel? Kind of explore a little bit about your dreams and what you would love. Feel good? Okay, any questions, just drop them in the chat. Oh, Annette, no, I haven't written any books yet. Thank you for asking. They're definitely on my plan. I've actually got titles and stuff. I just haven't, gotten very far on them. So, and yes, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we've got a gratitude ebook that has just been released. We've got another one released last year. What's it called? Lisa, do you remember? Oh my gosh. It's been a week. It's been a week. Anyway, so now we're going to go on to dream building principle number 2, which is about deciding for your dream. Because we all can have these wonderful thoughts and ideas and goals about our dreams. And unless we put legs on those dreams, we're not going to achieve them. So this is the DeLorean. I love it. Yes. So this is what we're going to do now. So I want everybody to just take a couple seconds or 30 seconds and just read this, if you would. So did everybody get a chance to read it? Everybody understood it? Mm-hmm. So this is again to show you languages and how the brain works and how transformation works. So, oops, didn't mean to do that. Where'd my, go back here. So our brains are so miraculous that all we need is the first and last letter in the right place, and our brains will figure the rest out. So again, in life, we have where we are and we have where we want to go. And when we have clear where we want to go, our brain and the rest will work itself out. That's what we're working on today, is the first steps of how this starts. But our brains are amazing. And this is the science of transformation. The first letter and the last letter, and you can read it. That's, to me, just amazing. So Bob Proctor, he's one of I study a lot of his materials. And he says there's a single mental move. There's a single mental move you can make, which in a millisecond will solve enormous problems for you. It has the potential to improve almost any personal or business situation you will ever encounter. And it could literally propel you down the path to incredible success. Anybody got a question about what that might be? I'm going to drop it in the chat if you have any. Does anybody have an idea what it might be? I do this to myself. There we are. The name for that magic mental activity is called decision. When we make a decision with who we are, not just an off the cuff, oh yeah, I'll do that. When we make a decision, all heaven and earth moves to join us in our thing. And we have to, this is where we decide. Here's a story about a check. Because we all have checks, our lives are all a check, a blank check. And, we can write it for $10 and go and cash it, or, we can do whatever we want with it. But here's the guy, he's got a check for $10,000. Call him Harry. And he walks into the bank with his check and he goes up to the teller and he says, I'd like to cash this check, please. Teller says, sure. Turns it over, hands it back to him and says, I just need you to sign the back of it and I'll give you your $10,000. And Harry's, oh, what? Well, how do I know you're going to give me back my money? If I sign that check and give it to you, how do I know you're not going to keep my money? No, I'm not going to put my name on that. I want you to give me my money and then I'll sign it. And the teller goes, that's not how life works. It's not how banking works. You have to sign your name. So they went back and forth for a while, sign it. No, I'm going to sign it. No, sign it. And finally the guy said to Harry, he said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I need to ask you to leave. And because I have banking rules of how I can help you, and I can't help you. So you'll have to try something else. So off he goes to the next bank and goes through the exact same rigmarole again. Gets asked to leave. Goes into yet a third bank, and there's a young guy behind the teller. He walks up and says, I'd like to sign this, to cash this check, please. Teller says, absolutely, I'm glad to help you with that. Turns it over and says, I just need your signature on the back, and I can give you your $10,000. And he goes, no, I don't want to sign the back. How do I know you're going to give me my money? Well, sir, that's the way it works. You have to sign it, and then I can give you your money. And we're not going to steal your money. We have lots of it. I need you to authorize me to give you your money. Nope. Starts the whole rig. The teller reaches behind his desk and he pulls out a rubber bat and he boinks Harry on the head and says, sign the darn check. And he was so shocked, he signed the check, handed it to the guy, and the guy hands him his $10,000. So he goes back to the first bank, feeling all proud of himself, and says, see, I got my money. And the teller says, yeah, but I bet you had to sign that check, didn't you? And he says, yeah, but nobody else has ever, he explained it different than everybody else did. So when we want things in our life, we have to make a decision. We have to be willing to sign the back of the check and say, this is what I want. For me, one of my goals is I want to live in, it's been my dream for 40 years to live in Hawaii. I have to be willing to sign that check that I'm going to Hawaii. I can't just sit here and dream about it. There's actions I take. So this is the decision of what we want to do with our lives. We can be all ready for change. Here's our little fishbowl. They're all together, mashed together, we're all comfy, cozy. Well, and this guy decides he wants change. He decided he wanted change and he committed to change. And then he's got this big tank. It's a bigger tank and it's all to himself. He decided he wanted change. So this is what happens when we decide. I've got a video for you here I'm going to play with Will Smith.
I was just having a debate with a friend of mine, and we got stuck on the difference between fault and responsibility. She kept talking about how something was somebody's fault. It's somebody's fault. And I was like, it don't matter whose fault it is that something is broken if it's your responsibility to fix it. For example, it's not somebody's fault if their father was an abusive alcoholic, but it's for damn sure their responsibility to figure out how they're going to deal with those traumas and try to make a life out of it. It's not your fault if your partner cheated and ruined your marriage, but it is for damn sure your responsibility to figure out how to take that pain and how to overcome that and build a happy life for yourself. Fault and responsibility do not go together. It sucks, but they don't. When something is somebody's fault, we want them to suffer. We want them punished. We want them to pay. We want it to be their responsibility to fix it, but that's not how it works, especially when it's your heart. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. As long as we're pointing the finger and stuck in whose fault something is, we're jammed and trapped into victim mode. When you're in victim mode, you're stuck in suffering. Road to power is in taking responsibility. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. Taking responsibility, accepting responsibility is not an admission of guilt. You're not admitting that you're at fault. Taking responsibility is a recognition of the power that you seize when you stop blaming people. It's not like you're letting somebody who wronged you off the hook. Like taking responsibility is an act of emotional self-defense. Taking responsibility is taking your power back.
Wanted to stop for 1 minute and just pretty powerful. Everybody feel that? This is my why. Because if until we do that, if I had not taken responsibility 3 years ago, I would still not be walking. And each one of us has a dream inside of ourselves. I wanted to dance again. So I'm sorry, I get emotional just watching this because we all have in us that seed of greatness when we decide and we take responsibility. So I hope that touched you. I'll go back to what I'm sharing with you now. I just love that video and just speaks so clearly. I have lost my button. Go back here to, sorry everybody, I'm gonna go to screen share. Go back here. How do I get out of here? Huh, I've never had this happen before. Lisa, you got anything I can figure? You got anything I can figure for this?
There should just be an X up at the corner that should let you go back.
Yeah, it's not there. Isn't that weird?
Can you?
I was just having a debate with a friend of mine.
Share your different, go back to your, when you do share, there should be options for different screens.
Oh, there we go. There we
Back.
go. I'm back. There we go. Okay. So that's where we need to decide. Decide what you want. Decide the world is here. It's your oyster. And we have to make a decision on that. And then once we do, we get to go into the dream building principle. And it's like if you're building a house, you know, what does that look like? So you're building your life and you want to do a blueprint. And then you want to do, you know, your planning. And now we're going to befriend our fear. The third phase, the next phase is befriending our fear, because it'll happen. You got your dream. You know, we've all got some measure of it that we've done this morning so far. And then we make a step towards it, and our fears will start popping up and going, what? You're going to do what? What if this? What if you leave your job and you lose your benefits or you lose? So we're going to learn now how to befriend your fear, at least to start on that process. So here's we got our dream, we got our goal, we got our plan. I got this. And then we wake up Monday morning and we go, oh crap, what if I fail? You know, because that's the voices that are going to come and say, what if you fail? Well, what if you fly? So this is our fears that pop up, and there, all of us have got them. So here's where self-care helps again. Because when we're taking care of ourselves, we've got a better ability to make better decisions for ourselves. It empowers us because we place ourselves of a high enough priority that we go, oh, no, that's not what I want. So it's self-care is a conscious act one takes in order to promote their physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual health. It's vital for building resilience, towards those stressors that we can't eliminate. One size doesn't fit all. We are individual people. And your plan should be to customize to your need versus like with the pandemic, a college student experienced the pandemic completely differently than somebody that's retired. So it's it's learning what's about you. This is a journey into you. And ultimately it's about setting priorities and setting boundaries and finding your purposes. So this is where the self-care ties into, befriending our fear, because they're there and they're there to protect you. That's what they think their job is as a protector. Well, what if you fail? What if you lose your benefits? What if your husband doesn't like that? Or what if this, or what if that? And it's like, well, for example, this year, the 1990s were, it's been an interesting journey for me in my health. There was 4 people that hit me. I was in four car accidents. And one of them was a half-ton truck hit me I was stopped at a red light and he hit me doing 30 miles an hour. So, I mean, I've learned how to come back from 0 twice. So I'm hoping I've learned whatever, but anyway, what was I talking about? Shoot, it just went out of my head. Lisa, what was I talking about? So yeah, okay, there was 4 and learning to come back from that.
Right.
And then, okay, that's what happened. And then this year in June, I'm just getting my life back in order after my surgeries. And I'm going to my last appointment with, I had an amazing therapist who specialized in pain, that I was going to my last appointment. COVID, they were closing the office down. And so I'm on my way to this, and I live on the coast of California, just south of San Francisco. And I'm going on this road, and all of a sudden, 2 cars in front of me decides he's going to pull an illegal turn. It's right around the corner. He stopped, the guy behind him stopped, I stopped, and the person behind me didn't. And so there I am on my way to my last appointment with my therapist. So we stopped, we got the police reports done, all that kind of stuff. And it's just, I got to his, and I'm holding it all together. I'm just kind of dealing, just letting everything swirl for a little bit. And I got to my therapist's office, and by the time he opened the door, I had big crocodile tears in my eyes. Like, holy crap. And we spent that hour, we just hit pause. And I use this a lot when I'm working with people. Let's hit pause on all the thoughts that come back up. So when your fears come back into your day, just hit pause and just stop. And we spent the hour in discussing this. And, so that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm still kind of, because I ended up in Saturday in the emergency room because I had a bad concussion. And, so Monday morning I woke up and I went, what if it's easy? And what if it's quick? I've done this. I've done this twice before.
Oh, that's fine.
What if I feel easily, and what if I heal quickly? And I reframed my Friday by Monday. And this is where it becomes an art and a science, and it takes practice, and you work at it, because it's not a natural way to be. It's when we get the tools and we start using them every day that we get a chance to reframe things. And that's what I go back to when you say, well, you're not feeling very well today. What if it's easy, and what if it's fast? What if this is going to be easy, and this is going to be quick, and this is not going to be problematic? So that's part of self-care. We make decisions. Again, befriending our fear. Here's a little kid. So what we're learning today is new tools, and we're going to be like a little baby. And when kids are little, they're crawling. We did it with my niece and stuff. Or my nephews. We put things on a table so they try to entice them to walk. Put it up a little bit higher to try and get them to get up on their legs. And they'd try it and they'd fall, and they'd try it and they'd fall. And never once did that baby say, I guess I'm not meant to walk. They kept trying and they kept trying. So the same comes here with our dreams and with our visions and with our tools that we're learning here. We're crawling. And as we learn the tools and we practice the tools and we have support, and this is what I do with my clients. It's like, different things come up, different questions come up. What if I've got this and then this, and I'm trying to decide on them? Tools of how to live a life that's abundant and that would be one that you would love. So, you know, look at the little joy on that little baby's face. And that's where we get, you know, when I woke up that Monday morning, I went, this is going to be easy and this is going to be quick. The power and the self-care I had at that moment, I was like superwoman. And this is where we want to learn to get to with our lives and with our dreams. And again, that being willing to fail and rise again. And this is a word that my team and I use, are no matter what's. And I have my no matter what's every day that I put in place that are easy, that are quick. I do my manifestation or my affirmations several times. I do my planking. I do this, I do that. I have little things that are little because in a time they grow to be bigger. But we have to be willing to fail. Oprah Winfrey, she was fired by TV executives because she wasn't fit for TV. We have Steven Spielberg, was rejected from USC Film School 3 times. J.K. Rowling, she was a single mom with kids. She was trying to feed her kids. Was rejected from, sorry, my screen's on top of that, 12 publishing houses. 12. Like, that's amazing. Like, that's chutzpah. Bruce Springsteen was fired from his first band, was told he couldn't sing. The Boss. Henry Ford had failed at 3 different businesses before starting Ford Motor Company at 53. So if your voice is trying to tell you you're too old, no, you're too old the day you lay your head on the pillow for the last time. That's when it's too late for your dream. Fear and failure are prerequisites for achieving our great dreams. You can't have one without the other. And so when your fears arrive, what can you do? Go back to your dream. You've started a dream here today. We've all started a dream here today. We go back and we reconnect with that. That's our why. So, what is one action that you can take that would move you in the direction of your dream today? Think about that. And every day, what's one action? You know, I use daily affirmations every day. And that's part of when with my clients, if they want me to help them form some affirmations, I do that with them. Because they're things that'll help us. So how can you increase your self-love? What are you grateful for today? What do I need to do for me today? How can I show myself love today? What little things fill me with joy? And let your mind dwell on those. What can I do today to feel nourished, body, mind, and soul? This is all ways of daily increasing your self-love. So what we covered today in our time together, we looked at the number 1 principle of designing your dream. Hopefully you've got a little bit more in that area. And how to decide for your dream and what that looks like. And then befriending your fear. So I got another little video here for you. What's next?
Okay, here's the deal. If you want to be successful, here's the thing you have to do. You have to jump. There is no way around it. You have to jump. Every successful person has jumped. You got to jump. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to dash off that cliff and you got to jump out there as far as you can. Now, a lot of times you stand on the cliff of life and you see other people soaring by. gliding down like a bird flying through the air. You know, they going over to the south of France. You see them on a boat somewhere. You see their family vacationing here, their family vacationing there. You see them dressing like this. You see them in New York, then you see them in London. They flying by. You know why? It's because they parachute open. But the only way to get your parachute to open so you can soar, you got to jump. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem, my friends. When you jump, I can assure you one thing. You listening? I promise you this. Your parachute will not open right away. No, that's the fear part. I promise you your parachute will not open right away. You're gonna hit them sides of them rocks. You're gonna tear your back out on them cliffs. You're gonna cut yourself. You're gonna get wounded. You're gonna get some tears and stuff like that. But eventually, the parachute will open and you'll be soaring. But here's the other caveat. Let me teach you this right here. If you do not jump, I promise you one thing, your parachute will never open. So you safe, but you'll never soar. You got to jump.
I don't know why I found that so comical. So true. So what I'm doing today is I'm trying a new thing of how to work with me. I said there was going to be some, at the end, there was going to be some gifts and an offer to work with me. And so I'm trying some new things this month of just trying to get it spring. You know, when I start seeing about how much self-care is out there and how much people are still reeling from the COVID and trying to get their feet and things under them. So my team and I decided to put together some new options for working with me. And I have, there it is. Let me just get this over here. So what we're doing this month is get started with me for as little as $397 a month. And that's a 3-month program. It's my intro program of designing and building, designing the tools to get started in building a life of your dreams. So my normal price for individual coaching is $19.97 is the full price. What we're doing today is if you sign up with a friend, you'll each pay $9.97 each, or 3 monthly payments of $3.97 each. And it would just be you and your friend. So if you've got a friend you'd like to work on with this is a great way to do it. And then I've also got an option of small group coaching, which the full price on that is $14.97 for the 3-month program. If you want to sign up today and pay in full, you can do $4.97, or you can do 3 monthly payments of $4.47. So trying to make this as affordable and as easy for you to make the jump and make the decision to work with me. And so that's what we're offering today is $3.97 if you've got a girlfriend or a friend or your daughter or somebody you're close to and you want to do the program, and you can cheer each other on, because part of what we do in the program is you're going to look for partners in believing, and whether you've got someone you know or whether you've got someone that you know, I'm here to be a partner in believing, but whether you've got some other people. So this is our offer today. And actually, we're going to extend this because if you want to find a partner, we're going to, extend it through tomorrow night is the payment. And have we got landing pages here, Lisa? No. Okay.
So the link is in the chat to sign up for that.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So that's for if you know today, if what I've said resonates with you. I don't work with everybody, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So
Caroline, can I interrupt you for just a minute? So question about, is this going to be all on Zoom or in person or both, or however it works, or anyway?
Of course, it's actually all on Zoom. So we figured a time when it's best. I mean, I've got other groups I'm already working with in individuals and stuff like that. But we find a time, whether it's a small group or whether it's in you and your friend, we find a time that works for you, and it's all done on Zoom. So lots of time to answer questions, to you know, get this all working really well for you. And, you know, so going from there. So yeah, we're extending that through tomorrow night, these super low prices. And then if you know right now you want to do that, Lisa's put the links in the chat. And there's also, if you're interested, but you're not quite sure right now, you can text me if you'd like, or you can get on my calendar link to book a strategy session with me. And this is like a first time coaching call. If you know you want to sign up today and get the really good deals, then do that. I mean, I'll still do a strategy session with you where we talk one-on-one on what's, you know, what is currently what you're doing, you know, what's going on, where you are in your life, and how to start you on a good starting point for you. So my Calendly link is there to book an appointment with me this week.
And the link is also in the chat. If you don't want to have to copy it down, you can just click it from the chat.
See, I told you I have the best team that I get to work with. They're amazing. So my phone number's there as well. You can text if you'd prefer to do that, whatever. We're just trying to bring down the barriers to get you help and assistance and hope and joy. I mean, I love my life. Yes, I have chronic pain every day, and I love my life. I wouldn't change anything that's happened to me to be where I am today. And so that's, you know, that's the first part of that is that. And here's what some current people that I'm working with are saying. I'm truly seeing positive, and this is after 4 weeks. I'm seeing positive changes in my thinking patterns and perspective since beginning the course. We all have good and bad days, but it's learning to leave the bad ones behind and not dwell on them that makes a huge difference. Thanks for the feedback, Caroline. Much appreciated. I definitely am expanding thinking always. Too small, go bigger, no limits, which is still hard, but getting easier. We'll add a few suggestions you made. These really rang true for me and are definitely helpful to the dream. Best, Lori B. And I'm really enjoying the program. I have a lot to learn about myself and what I want and who I am. The program is making me focus on me. I can slowly see and feel myself change, walking away from negative energies around me, changing my focus when I'm feeling down and lost and not worthy. So these are week 4 of my current group that I'm working with. So anybody have any questions?
Can I butt in for a second? I don't have a
Absolutely.
question, but there is also a link to Caroline's Gratitude Key Facebook group in the chat, and the free ebook called The Gratitude Key also in there.
Okay. Yeah. We're putting lots of things out there to support you. You know, we started the Gratitude Key in November did a month-long gratitude project, because gratitude is where I started my turnaround in my life. I started being grateful. I mean, there was days I just literally was grateful for pain medication, that I lived in a country where I could get pain medication. And so gratitude starts with, I'm grateful that I have a house that I live in that, you know, is warm and cozy and I can see the ocean from my bedroom window. You know, there's things all of us have, no matter how challenging our life might seem right now. Look for what you're grateful for. So that's there to support you, whether you want to work with me or not. You can join the Facebook group. We populate it with things, or Lisa's just getting ready to start another challenge in there.
And the link to the challenge just went in the chat. So be sure to look at the chat. There's tons of free stuff in there we don't want you to miss out on.
Yeah. You know, my Facebook page, my business page is Push Your Paradigm, because that's what it really is to me, is our paradigms are our current way of thinking. They're the ruts that our brain runs in. And we've got these patterns that just, we fall into them and we're stuck in there. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. And that's what working with me does, is we get you out of that rut and we start a new path to a life you would truly love. So, you know, we're coming up. I did it. I got 6 minutes left. If anybody has questions, you know, any feedback you might like, if there's anything that's not clear to you, before I get off, again, you've got ways to contact me, but before I get off the call, the meeting, if there's anything I can do to help you, please. Thank you, Sapna. saying I'm very, thank you. Thank you. Anybody? Oh, you live in Pacifica. Hey, cool, Annette. It's amazing. Thank you. So yes, any questions, any feedback? How can I help you? How can I help? Can they unmute themselves if they want to ask or raise a hand? Anybody have any questions?
I'm muted. Yeah, everybody should be able to unmute themselves. I can also unmute you if you're having problems finding the thing, because if you're on a phone, sometimes that's a little tougher.
And they keep changing it. It's like, oh my goodness. You know, I get on a new call and it's like, what is that new button on there? I don't even know what that is. So yeah. Everybody feel encouraged? Yeah. Okay. No questions. You got the links to work with me. And you know, if you got any questions, just reach out. I'm here to help. Okay. Many blessings, you all.